The daughter of my mother's best friend was openly bullying me and ruining my life, and my mother stood up for her. My name's Ellis Monroe. I'm 13 now, but everything changed the year I turned 12, the year I stopped being just a kid and started fighting to be believed. It started the day my mom let another kid move into our home. Her name was Melina. Her mother, Jean, was my mom's best friend since college. They hadn't seen each other much over the past decade, but when Jean went into a treatment center for what my mom called personal healing, she didn't hesitate to offer Melina a room in our house. It was only supposed to be temporary. A month. Maybe 6 weeks. I remember standing in the driveway, watching Melina step out of Jean's car. She had a small duffel bag and wore a sharp green hoodie with gold lettering I couldn't read. She didn't smile when she saw me. Just nodded like she was stepping into a hotel. That first night, Mom made her favorite meal, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, even though she hadn't made that for me in ages. Melina said almost nothing during dinner, except that she missed her dog and hated our wallpaper. I tried to be kind. I offered to help her unpack, to show her around the neighborhood. She just stared and said, "I'm not here to make friends, Ellis. Let's keep that straight." I thought maybe she was just upset about her mom. But over the next week, Melina made it clear she didn't just want space. She wanted power. She moved her things into my room. Claimed the guest room made her anxious. My mom, desperate to avoid conflict, allowed it. I moved into the guest room without complaint, but inside, something felt wrong. She started taking my clothes without asking. My favorite hoodie, the one from last year's robotics camp, disappeared for 3 days before I found it stained with pink nail polish. I asked her calmly not to touch my things. She laughed. "They're not yours anymore." When I told my mom, she told me to be patient. That Melina was under pressure. That it wasn't forever. "You're strong, Ellis. She's the one struggling." I wanted to ask, why does her pain matter more than my peace? But I didn't. I just nodded. It was at school that things went from difficult to unbearable. Melina enrolled a week after she arrived. I don't know how she did it, but within days she was popular. The teachers thought she was charming. The kids thought she was cool. She started telling people stories, that I had a temper, that I was jealous of her, that I had once locked her in a closet. None of it was true. But the rumors spread faster than I could stop them. One morning, I opened my locker and found it filled with wet paper towels. The word psycho was scrawled across my books in red marker. When I looked around, Melina was standing with 2 classmates I used to eat lunch with. They were laughing. I went to the school counselor. I explained what was happening. But all she said was, "Maybe you two need space. Can you try giving Melina a little grace?" Grace? For the girl who was destroying my life? I went home that day hoping to talk to my mom. Instead, I walked in to find Melina wearing my headphones, sitting at my computer. "Your mom said I could use it," she said flatly. That night, I found a message from someone on social media, a screenshot of a post on a page I'd never seen, Ellis Unfiltered. It was filled with photos of me blurry, unflattering, taken in secret. One of me yawning. One of me scratching my nose. Another of me changing for gym, shirtless. Each post had captions like, "Creep in the wild," or "Someone call animal control." My ears rang. My chest went cold. I showed my mom. She gasped, but then her expression softened in that infuriating way. "I'm sure she didn't mean it to be cruel," she said. "It's a joke, Ellis. They're kids." I wanted to scream. Instead, I started collecting evidence. I wasn't going to be a bystander in my own life anymore. That night, I dug my old phone out of the junk drawer and deleted everything on it. I turned it into my evidence tracker, every photo, every screenshot, every whispered insult I could catch. I downloaded a sound recorder and left it running whenever I was in the same room as Melina. I even slid an old baby monitor behind my bookshelf, its tiny red light covered with tape. At school, I walked the halls like a ghost. The same teachers who used to compliment me on my writing now barely made eye contact. The kids who once traded Pokemon cards with me in 6th grade now whispered behind their hands when I walked by. Melina had become untouchable. She wore my clothes to school, my shirts, my jacket, even my old baseball cap from when I played Little League. When I told her to stop, she'd tilt her head and say, "You're such a control freak, Ellis. It's just stuff." One evening, I came home and found my robot, the one I'd been building for the district science fair, broken on the garage floor. The wires were tangled, the wheels cracked. When I asked her what happened, she didn't deny it. "You shouldn't leave your toys lying around," she said, walking past me with a bowl of popcorn. I felt my throat close. I took a picture of the wreckage and saved it. 3 nights later, I woke up with a fever and stomach cramps so intense I thought I'd be sick right there in bed. I barely made it to the bathroom. It was the worst night of my life. By morning, my mom was hovering beside me with soup and tissues. Melina sat in the hallway, playing a game on her phone, smiling at the sound of me throwing up. Later that week, I overheard her laughing on a call. I put that old bottle of castor oil in his juice. I recorded that. That was when I realized this wasn't just bullying. It was methodical. Calculated. Melina wasn't lashing out. She was building a kingdom and she had crowned herself queen in my ruin. I tried to show my mom again the screenshots, the recording. She stared at the screen for a long time, then looked at me, her eyes tired. Ellis, she said, this is a hard time for everyone. Her mom is sick. She's scared. Maybe you're reading too much into things? That was the moment I stopped expecting help. I started phase 2 of my plan. I reached out to Mr. Drake, my English teacher, after class one day. He'd always seemed fair, and he had once told me I had a novelist's voice. I showed him the social media posts, the texts, and the audio file of Melina admitting to poisoning my drink. His face changed. This is serious, he said. You need to talk to the school counselor again. I'll walk you there. He stayed with me while I told Ms. Chavez everything, this time with evidence. She asked me to stay while she made some calls. By lunch, my mom had been contacted. She came to school for a meeting with the counselor, Mr. Drake, and me. I brought a folder with printed pages, a flash drive, and my old phone. For the first 20 minutes, I didn't say a word. I just showed them what I had. The photos. The diary entry Melina had copied and mocked. The timestamped screenshot of her fake account. The audio files. My mom sat back slowly in her chair. Her hands were clasped so tight I thought she'd snap her fingers. I had no idea, she whispered. Ellis, why didn't you tell me it was this bad? I tried, I said, calmly. You told me to be patient. The counselor leaned forward. This is serious enough to involve both school administration and child services. But because she's living in your home, this complicates it. My mom shook her head. Not anymore. I'll handle it tonight. When we got home, the house was quiet. Melina wasn't back from her after-school club. My mom didn't wait. She called Jean, Melina's mom, who had just returned from the treatment center. Then she called Melina's grandmother in Idaho. I sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, numb. I had dreamed of this moment when everything would finally come to light, but now it felt hollow. That night, Melina came through the door, dropping her bag in the hallway. Where's dinner? She asked casually. My mom stood. Melina, we need to talk. Melina looked between us. Her eyes narrowed. You showed her, she said to me, her voice suddenly flat. You think this is over? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Her grandmother picked her up the next morning. As she walked out the door, suitcase in hand, she turned to look at me. She didn't speak. But her eyes were cold. Knowing. Like she was already planning her next move. The first morning after Melina left, the house was so quiet I could hear the heating system click on from the basement. For weeks, I'd woken up bracing myself for slammed doors, muttered insults outside my room, or worse, the weight of my own dread. But this morning, it was still. I opened the window. Birds chirped. The cold air smelled clean. My mom was already in the kitchen when I came downstairs. She had scrambled eggs on the stove, something she hadn't made since I was little, and 2 plates already on the table. When she saw me, she gave a small, unsure smile. Not the kind of smile that says everything's fine. The kind that asks, can we try again? Eat first, she said gently. Then we talk. We did. 4 hours. She apologized, not with dramatic speeches or tears, but with honesty. I didn't want to believe Melina was doing those things, she said. Because if I did, it meant I let you suffer under my roof. I didn't yell. I didn't tell her all the nights I cried into my pillow, or the weight I carried trying to prove I wasn't the problem. She already knew. I could see it in the way her hand shook when she picked up her coffee mug. In the way she looked at me like she didn't expect forgiveness, but hoped for it anyway. We cleaned the house that weekend. Not just vacuuming or laundry, deep cleaning. The kind people do when they're trying to reset something. My mom boxed up the extra decorations Melina had brought. She let me repaint my room. We rearranged furniture, donated old clothes, scrubbed the baseboards. She even found the broken remains of my science fair robot and said, "If you ever want to rebuild this, I'll help." That meant more than any apology. But outside, the world moved slower to forget. At school, whispers still trailed me. The damage Malina had done didn't vanish with her absence. The story she'd spread about my supposed temper, my weird obsession with gadgets, my loneliness, they lingered. Some kids were kind again, especially when they saw me talking with Mr. Drake or Ms. Chavez. But others, like Carter and Janie, who used to be my lab partners, avoided me. Carter once bumped into me during gym and muttered, "Snitch." I didn't respond. He wanted a reaction. I wasn't going to give him one. Instead, I turned to the people who mattered. Aiden, who always stood by me, even when it got uncomfortable. Brenna, the quiet girl who transferred mid-year and slowly became the only person I truly trusted. She never asked questions she knew would hurt. Instead, she passed me notes in math class that just said, "You good," with a tiny smiley face. "I'm getting there," I'd write back. And I was. Until the package arrived. It came on a Wednesday afternoon, no return address, no markings. Just my name. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside was something I hadn't seen in over a year, my old drone. Broken. The frame cracked, wires dangling, the camera lens shattered. There was a note, scrawled in the same sharp, all-capital letters I remembered too well. "Keep watching the skies, Ellis." My hands trembled. My breath came short. It wasn't a death threat. It wasn't vulgar. But it was a message, and it was meant for me. I showed my mom immediately. Her face went pale. She didn't speak. Just picked up the phone and called the police. They came, took photos, collected the note and the drone, and filed a report. But without fingerprints, video, or a witness, they couldn't do much. They offered to do more patrols around our block. Said to keep the doors locked and let them know if anything else happened. I started sleeping with my dresser pushed up against my door again. That same night, I reconnected my old baby monitor. I angled the camera toward my bedroom window and stuck the receiver under my pillow. It felt ridiculous, but it made me feel less powerless. Then came the sighting. I was walking home from school, earbuds in, backpack slung low, when I passed the little bookstore on Pine Avenue. It's this old brick building with ivy on the side and a window full of dusty first editions. I wasn't planning to stop. But something caught my eye. A figure leaned against the wall, hood up, arms crossed. Just watching. It was her. Malina. She didn't look surprised when she saw me. She didn't flinch or hide. She just smiled, slow and deliberate, like I was a piece in a game she was still playing. "Hello, Ellis," she said, voice light. "Miss me?" My mouth went dry. "You're not supposed to be here." She shrugged. "I go where I want." Then she turned and walked away. Just like that. I stood there frozen for a full minute before I ran. When I got home, I told my mom everything. She didn't hesitate, called the police again, then Jean, then Malina's grandmother. That's when we found out she'd run away. Left Idaho 2 nights ago. No one had heard from her. "She came back here," my mom said into the phone, hand gripping the receiver so tight her knuckles were white. "She came back to find him." The police added her to their missing persons bulletin and promised a detective would follow up. But I could already feel it in the pit of my stomach. This wasn't over. That night, I charged every device I owned. Set up alerts. Changed my passwords. Rechecked my cameras. And for the first time since she'd left, I started counting the days again. 3 days passed after I saw Malina by the bookstore. Each one felt like an unblinking stare, like the moment before lightning strikes. The police still hadn't found her. Her grandmother had filed a report, and Jeannie, her mother, left messages for us saying she was devastated, that she hadn't known Malina was planning to leave Idaho. My mom tried to stay calm, but I could see the worry sinking into her. She triple-checked the locks every night and left a baseball bat next to the couch. Then came the second package. This time, it was left on the back steps, wedged behind the recycling bin. Inside wasn't broken electronics or vague threats. It was a photograph. Of me. Sleeping. In my own bed. The angle was close. Taken from inside my room. There was no note. Just that image. I couldn't breathe. My stomach dropped. I turned to my mom, holding the photo and shaking hands. She stared at it in stunned silence. Then she moved with terrifying precision, locking doors, calling 911, shutting all the curtains. When the police came, they brought a detective this time. He was quiet, serious, and methodical. "This is an escalation," he said. "She's entering your home. That's not mischief, that's breaking and entering. And if she's sleeping in abandoned buildings or sneaking around neighborhoods, that's dangerous for everyone involved." We handed over everything. The cameras, the notes, the drone. The detective asked about people Molina had connected with, places she might go. But the truth was, we had no idea. She was good at hiding, not just physically, but emotionally. Later that evening, my mom asked, "Do you think she's sick?" "I think she's angry," I said. "And she wants to win." We installed a new camera in the hallway. Another by the back door. Aiden helped me install a motion alert system on my bedroom window using one of his gaming sensors. We were building a fortress. But inside, I felt like a prisoner. The worst part wasn't fear, it was doubt. I kept wondering, was she here now? Hiding somewhere, watching from a distance? Then Brenna texted me. "Brenna, there's a new page online." I clicked the link she sent. It led to a private blog called The Monroe Files. Password protected. But the banner image was unmistakable, another photo of me blurry, candid, mid-laugh. Probably from school, weeks ago. The blog had only one post preview. They always think they've won. Until the final move. My hands shook as I forwarded everything to the detective. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to hide anymore. I called David. He was a grade ahead of me and known for being the tech whiz of the school. We weren't close, but he respected my robotics work and owed me a favor after I helped him with a math project last year. I told him everything. The drone, the cameras, the break-in. The blog. "I need your help," I said. "I need to trap her." We spent the weekend setting it up. A fake diary, one written in the same notebook Molina used to borrow when she wanted to mock my handwriting. Inside, I wrote everything she wanted to see, fake secrets, fake passwords, fake emotional confessions. And then, one single message. "Smile for the camera, Molina." We hid it under my bed, just enough to be seen if someone was looking. David helped install 2 cameras, one behind my curtain rod facing the bed, the other inside an old Xbox case on the shelf. Both motion activated. Both live streaming to my phone. Then I waited. My mom stayed with a friend that night. She didn't want to, but I convinced her. I told her the police knew. I told her I'd lock every door and keep my phone in my hand. At 2:13 a.m., the motion alert buzzed. I opened the stream. There she was. In my room. She moved carefully, dressed in black, hair tucked into a knit cap. She tiptoed toward my bed, looked underneath, and pulled out the diary. Her fingers flipped through the pages rapidly. Then she froze. She'd found the message. Her head turned slowly toward the Xbox shelf. She saw it. She ran. I was already on the phone with 911. The police arrived in under 6 minutes. They found her a block away, hiding behind the dumpster behind the community center. She had my old keys, a flashlight, and 3 more photos of me printed on crumpled paper. They didn't arrest her, not exactly. But they detained her. And this time, she wasn't going to a grandmother or a friend. She was going to a psychiatric care facility. Her mother agreed to it. The detective said it was the only safe option. And the judge approved a protective order legally barring her from contacting me in any way, for a year. When the officer told me that, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt empty. That week, the school made an announcement: due to ongoing safety concerns, a student has been transferred to a specialized education center. We ask for respect and privacy. No one said her name. But I saw the looks. Most kids left me alone. A few offered tentative waves. Even Carter muttered, "Sorry, dude," in the hallway one day. But it didn't matter. For the first time in months, I walked into my room, locked the door, and felt safe. I still pushed the dresser in front of the window that night. But this time, I did it out of habit, not fear. Summer arrived slowly, as if the world itself needed time to recover. The air turned warmer. Windows opened again. The scent of cut grass floated through the neighborhood, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I slept through the night without checking the locks. Molina didn't return. True to the court's order, she was placed in a long-term youth treatment center. Her mother called once, just to say thank you, not for what I endured, but for what I revealed. I didn't know, Jean had said, her voice shaking. I never really knew what she was carrying. Or how deep it went. I didn't say much. What could I say? I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. At school, things changed in small ways. The principal invited me to join a student advocacy group, kids who'd experienced bullying and wanted to change things from the inside. I said yes. Not because I had answers, but because I finally understood the power of being heard. Brenna and Aiden remained my closest friends. Brenna had a way of asking the right questions at the right time. Do you ever think about her? She asked one day at lunch. Not really, I answered. Then after a pause, sometimes. But not in the way I used to. What way was that? Like she was a storm that could come back any time. Now I think, maybe she was just lost. She nodded slowly. I hope she finds her way back. So do I said. And I meant it. Near the end of the school year, a letter arrived. No stamp. Just my name, written in small, careful handwriting. Ellis. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. This is part of my treatment, writing a letter to the person I hurt most. They said I should tell the truth. So here it is. I was angry, and scared, and jealous of your life. I hated how good you were at things. How people trusted you. Hurting you made me feel like I had control. It wasn't about you. But I still chose to make it about you. And I'm sorry. Not because they told me to write this, but because you deserved better. You were never the villain in my story. I was. I hope someday you forget me. But if you don't, I hope you remember that I'm trying to be different. Malina. I read it once. Then again. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat with it. And then I folded it, placed it in the box with my old drone and the fake diary, and closed the lid. That chapter was over. The last day of school, I walked home without looking over my shoulder. I stopped at the corner bookstore, the same one where I had seen her months ago. I walked inside for the first time since then. The owner, a grizzled old man with half-moon glasses, gave me a nod. Long time, he said. Yeah, I replied, picking up a notebook from the display. Felt like time to start something new. That night, I sat on my bed, window open, a soft breeze tugging at the curtains. The notebook lay in my lap, blank. A fresh page. No title. Just me. I wrote one sentence: sometimes survival looks like silence. And sometimes it looks like speaking up. I closed the cover and placed it on my desk. Then I turned off the light. And slept. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.